יושב בסתר, עליון בצל שדי גדונן, ומעלה אדוני, ציון צודקי, אלוהי אבטח בו, כי הוא יצילך מפח יכוש, מדבר עוון בעברתו. יסך לך ותחת כנפיו, ותחסה צינה וסוחרה מיתו, לא תירא מפחד לילה, כתר ישוץ הרעים, יפול מצידך לב ורבבה מימינך אליך, לא ייגש רק בעיניך, תביט ותשאלו מן רשעים תראה, כי אתה אדוני מחסים עליון שמת מהונך, לא תונם אליך רם, ונגע לא יקרב בהלכה, כי מלאכים יצווה לך לשמרך בכל דרכיך, בעברתו יסך לך תחת כנפיו, תישא ציווה בתוך ערמיתו, לא תירא מפחד לילה, מחץ יהוב יומם, מדבר באופל יחלוך. על מקומות טובה ושלום. It's common to chant Psalm 23. David, Adonai roi lo exar, pinoteshet yarbitseni, amei menuchot yanachaluni, nafshi yoshevet yanacheni, במגלת צדק למען שמו, גם כלך בגץ על מוות, לא ירא רע כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפני שולחן נגד צורריי, תשענת בשם את ראשי כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד עטפוני כל ימי חיים, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Give me repose in green meadows, leading me beside the still waters to revive my spirit. Guiding me on the right path, for that is God's essence. Though I walk through a valley of the shadow of death, I fear no harm, for you are with me. Your staff and your rod, they comfort me. You prepare a banquet for me in the presence of my foes. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and kindness shall be my portion all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the divine forever. On July 29th of 1927, a girl was born in the small town of Leader, Saskatchewan. Some sages would say that maybe there was a premonition. Lieder in Yiddish and German means songs. Who was to know that when she raised her family, she raised some of the finest singers and performers this town has ever known. We're here to say farewell to Evelyn Maslowsky. Her Hebrew name is Yocheved Bar Avraham Bar Freda, who passed away on May the 18th, equivalent in the Hebrew calendar to the 24th of Iyar of the year 5780, at the age of 92, nearly 93. She is survived by her children, Kenny Maslowsky, Debbie Maslowsky, married to Arthur Cohen, her daughter-in-law, Christine Maslowsky, her brother, and if I mispronounce the name, please correct me, I'm not shy about that, Nathan Yakovar, married to Lucy, her brother-in-law, Bill Mas, married to Siggy, right? Her grandchildren, Kaylee, Bobby, Tara, Sarah, and Jared, married to Jared. She was predeceased by her husband, Sam, her parents, Abraham Yakovar and Frieder Axelrod, her daughter, Barbara, and her son, Jerry. Clergy, rabbis, like sometimes to do some research on the Hebrew name of the person. Her name, Yocheved, means glory is God. Yocheved, in biblical times, she was the daughter of Levi, Jacob's son, and the mother of Moses, Aaron, and Miriam, considered one of the greatest Jewish women that ever lived. Just imagine, she was the mother of Moses, who brought the children out of Israel and who received the Torah on Mount Sinai. Aaron was the high priest and the father of the Kohanim, high priests. Miriam, who was a prophetess, in whose merit the children of Israel had water during the 40 years wandering the desert. Yocheved was the chief Jewish nurse in Egypt. She was a great lover of Jewish children and devoted all her time to helping young Jewish mothers and their newly born babies. As I continue, you're going to see a connection to Yocheved. So, Debbie yesterday sent me some emails that were sent to her by friends. I tried to discern and pick and choose, and frankly, I couldn't. what they said describes her so much to a T that I'm just going to read them. They're not many, but I think they're so direct. For example, here's one. Evelyn was so kind to me in so many ways, including me in all the holidays for many years. Her joyful attitude brightened every room and everyone around her. She created a local family for me when my own was far away. Another one. Your mom was a person of remarkable sense, spirit, humor, generosity, and warmth. Indeed, matched only by your dad, come to think of it, which goes some way to explain the wonder of your family. Your mom was a real fireball, and that is how I will choose to remember her. Another one. Your mom was so kind, lots of personality, and always with a smile. And I always remember the pinch on the cheek and the bear hug whenever I saw her. It was always a delight to be in her company. Your mom was a really neat person, and I loved her sense of humor. I am happy for her that she has been released from her compromised disability in her life she experienced in the past few years. Another one. I always remember your mom, her welcoming nature, her smile, and her beautiful eyes. Your mom was a dear soul. Our joyful memories with Evelyn have always been and always will be treasured. Her devotion and love of her family were constantly at the forefront. The apple did not fall far from the tree. And know you are blessed to have had such dedicated parents. I know your mom had this remarkable ability to connect with people, and in doing so, bring joy and positivity to all those around her. I always admired the values of family and community that your mom and dad portrayed when I saw them in the earlier days, when my work brought me to Winnipeg and I would connect with them. Those values seem to have found their way to all of you, and of course your mother was the reason that happened. Another one. I loved your mom, such a strong, vivacious, and enormous, wonderful personality. She loved her children to the nth degree and took their friends as if they were their own. I will be forever grateful that I knew your mom. Each visit with her on my visits home were a highlight of my trip. The immense warmth in her heart always shone through. And the last one, your mother and dad too raised wonderful kids. I think each of them, and it was in the case of your dear sister and brother, spectacular in her or his way. I have thought many, many times about your parents and the wonderful life you must have been like with them, giving the family traits I have seen in you and your brothers of leadership, humor, community-mindedness, and talent. I've added a few things. One of the ones I have to share with you was something my wife remembered. When your mother came to adult leisure at shared setting, and of course there would be performers, and she would always come in the office with a smile, and my wife would say she would bounce into the office. And often Alice would say to her, so how was it? Well, the performer was great. Could have had some more stage presence, but otherwise they were okay. I think she practiced on you guys. Now, over and above what we've heard so far, think about this. She was a caregiver. She looked after her parents and her husband's parents in their years of need, and eventually her husband as well. She was a force to be reckoned with at the B'nai B'rith organization, where she planned, organized, and led programs for children and other needy causes. She loved to cook and bake and feed everyone who visited her house. There's a Yiddish expression that my mother used to say because she always thought I was too thin. Es mein Kind es. I think that must have been ingrained in her forehead. Now this is interesting. Every Christmas, that was her husband's only day off from the store that he owned. She would host a Christmas dinner for her Jewish and non-Jewish friends, often cramming 50 or more people into the basement of their home in Jefferson. She had a very special friend, Alan Zelick, but unfortunately the last 6 years since she has been well, they haven't seen each other much. She was very knowledgeable Judaically and knew her way around the prayer book. Her father was one of the founders of the Hevri Mishnai synagogue on Jefferson. But unfortunately, following the loss of her daughter, her zest of our faith waned considerably. Yet she soldiers on bravely and faced daily challenges with life and energy. Now, boundless energy was who she had, always looking for something to occupy her time, which was the essence of who she was. I think if you look up in the dictionary on Google and you look up the definition of the word Spilkes, I would be surprised if her picture doesn't appear with that word. If it doesn't, it should. A remarkable woman, aptly named in biblical times, and whoever named her, whether they knew it or not, she definitely assumed that personality. Greater than life, the essence of Judaism is to help your fellow human being. She lived it. She absolutely lived it. To close off, I'd like to say, may the immortal soul of Evelyn be something that we take with us. If we can take something as an example of how she lived and how she dealt with her fellow human beings, her generosity, her spirit, her good humor, I know she will then be part of us forever. The El Malei Rachamim, the memorial prayer often referred to by our clergy, leaders, rabbis, is sometimes called the phone call to the soul because the name is actually mentioned in it. So I will recite it both in Hebrew and in English. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hametzei Menelcha Nachona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, B'mahalot Kedoshim Utchorim, Kezohar, Harakia Hamaskirim et Nishmat, Yochevet Bad Avraham V'Freida, Shelcha Le'alama, Vaganeit Emunochatah, Anna Habal Harachamim, Hastirech Besetek Kenofech Olonomim, Utzror Bitzror Achim et Nishmatah, Adonai Chunachalatah, Betanuach B'Shalom al Mishkavah, V'nomar Amen. Exalted, compassionate God, grant infinite rest in your sheltering presence among the holy and the pure to the soul of Evelyn Maslowsky, Yochevet Bar Avraham V'Freida, who is gone to her eternal home. Merciful One, we ask that our loved one find perfect peace in your eternal embrace. May her soul be bound up in the bond of life. May she rest in peace. And let us all say, Amen. It is customary before we cover the grave as the final farewell, final mitzvah, to recite the mourner's Kaddish. And you have the cards. I'll wait for you to get them out, and we'll do them slowly. Itkadal ve'itkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei, ve'amlich machutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei l'chol beit Israel, ba'gala uvizman kariv v'imru Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam ul'almei almaya. Itborach v'ishtabach v'itboar v'itramam v'itnaseh. V'ithadar v'ithale v'ithalal shmei kudsha brichu. La'ela min kol brichata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. V'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yesh Lamaraba Min Shemaya V'chaim Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom Imramav Ve'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. On behalf of everyone who's here and those who are watching, I'd like to share the following words with the family who's here and those families who are watching as well. Hamakom Menachem Etchem Betok She'ar Evelyn V'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you and all who have mourned for Zion and Jerusalem, and let us say, Amen. Now, due to these, to say the least, unusual circumstances, there's no Shiva, and obviously the gathering and a meal is not doable either. But before we cover the grave, it is a good idea to call the family, and especially those of you who are watching, if you have a few moments, to give a call and pass on your condolences in lieu of Shiva. That would be very supportive. As I said earlier, the final mitzvot that we do is to cover the grave. I think Rabbi Green used to always refer to as if we put a blanket on a child before they go to sleep. Again, we invite the family to be the first ones. Now, not everybody can do it. And if you can't, that's fine too. Once you've done it, the custom is 3 shovelfuls, and then you put the shovel aside for the person behind you to come pick it up voluntarily. You can do it on either side. So I want to thank everybody for being here. Pallbearers, thank you very much. Those who are watching, thank you for joining us. Just also to let you know that the name will be announced at our daily services for the next 7 days. Our services are online on YouTube and Facebook, so the name will be announced again in lieu of Shiva to honor her memory. So we now are at the end, so the family is the first to be involved.